Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule, and happy Eastertide. Here we are, week 4 of the season of Easter 2025. I'm releasing this podcast to you on Sunday, May 11th. Sunday, May 11th, if you don't know, is the celebration of Mother's Day all around the world, which is not particularly a Christian observation, other than it actually has some roots in a Christian movement of women who are actually fighting for women's rights at the time, and Mother's Day came about. It wasn't necessarily just a Hallmark kind of holiday to start with, but I want to focus a little bit on Mother's Day today. And if you haven't yet given thanks for your mother, please do so. Whether or not you actually know your biological mother or have ever gotten along with your biological mother, somebody birthed you into this world, and that is an amazing gift. So we thank God for that gift. And if your mama was not the best mother in the world to you, or you were not raised by her for whatever reason, then we thank God for the gift of mothering, the nurturing that we have received along the way, which could have come to us from like a coach or like an uncle who was incredibly nurturing, or a teacher, or the mother of a best friend. Somebody in our life hopefully has been nurturing to us at one point along the journey. The energy of motherhood, we think about the energy of moms being nurturing. The reality is, like, mothers are life-giving. And mothers actually, if you can kind of take it back to when we first come into the world, we are all craving from our mother that what's called the mother's gaze, which we have mirrored back to us from hopefully as early on, which we can't even remember, mirrored back to us the mother's gaze of love, like this delight in who we are, this being that has come forth from our mother's body. And the mother is taking that being into their arms, cradling that being at their breast, and literally like looking upon that being with great joy and delight. That is what is known as the mother's gaze. And that reminds us and shows us and tells us that the energy of mothering is not just nurturing. The energy of mothering is also delighting, having joy in, celebrating the gifts of. And the journey of life for all of us, we come forth from our mother, we hopefully receive this beautiful mother's gaze, or we will crave it and look for it anywhere we can get it all along our way. And the journey is to come to a place of maturation where we gaze upon ourselves and celebrate, delight, take joy in, where we become our own mother, where we like grow up from what's known in the journey, where we grow up from being maiden. This has nothing to do with your gender, by the way, this or biological sex. This has to do with the energy of mothering of self. We grow up from being a maiden that believes that somebody is coming to rescue us, or somebody is coming to like give this mother gaze to us from external sources. And we grow up into the maturity of being our own mother, of caring for ourselves, of nurturing ourselves, of celebrating ourselves. And that craving for all of those things, instead of those all getting turned outward, which is what's going to happen in our psychological development, but we come to a place where they all get turned inward. And we no longer need that from others in the way that we needed it when we were young, which doesn't mean it's not amazing to be like, you know, celebrated by a friend or given self-care, nurture from somebody else. That's all a beautiful gift, and it all must come from within. This is the path every one of us is to take, male, female, anywhere in between. We must become our own mother. We must learn to look upon ourselves. Maybe this is in the mirror, or maybe this is just as we reflect upon our day. we must come to a place where we celebrate and delight in ourselves, where we also offer ourselves those corrective actions that mothers can also give to us, those boundaries that mothers can teach us, where we offer those to ourselves as well, because that's the way that we tend ourselves best. So I give thanks for my mother. I've shared more about my mother along the journey in this podcast, and I have experienced in my lifetime actual seeing the way that religious expression has tried to show us this image of the mother. And in the Christian tradition, we have what's called the Madonna, which traditionally is an image that is understood as the mother holding the child, and that's known as the Madonna. And often Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus, is given the title of the Madonna. But technically, anytime the woman is holding the child, that's an understanding of like a statue or a painting or a capturing of the Madonna. And this is actually, archaeologists tell us, like, this is not new to Christianity. This whole like Madonna, this whole image of the mother holding the child is like prehistoric. Some of the most like ancient relics that have been found and unearthed actually are like vessels of women that are like voluptuous, because they're trying to show like this is the birthing hips and the full breasts of the mother. Sometimes that image even has the child with it, and it's reminding us that like we all come from the womb of a mother. This is a primal energy of mothering. Every one of us has come from the womb of a mother. And so this is not new to Christianity. It's a beautiful story we can celebrate, though, in Christianity, the story of the great mother known to us through the story of Jesus' mother, Mary, who becomes Mary, the mother of Jesus. And there's lots of lore out there about Mary the mother, and there's some biblical stories of Mary the mother as well. And this is what's so amazing about Mary the mother, is that Mary the mother keeps on revealing herself. She keeps on showing up all around the world. In fact, where there has been places and times of great suffering, the Black Madonna actually has come forth. There have been apparitions of the Black Madonna. And you may know a little bit about some of the Black Madonnas, like maybe you know about Our Lady Guadalupe, who is a Black Madonna that is of the Americas. Our Lady of Guadalupe coming forth, being seen by a peasant who was in Mexico, and the very place where the conquistadors had come in and like forced Christianity upon the native people at the time. This is the place where Our Lady of Guadalupe appears, and there's a whole long story about it, but she is revealing herself to this simple man who is to go forth and tell this like massive church, this Western church, go forth and tell them, this is where my temple will be built. This is where Our Lady of Guadalupe's sanctuary will be. That very point where blood had been shed by the conquistadors. This is where I claim for my place of healing. And so there's a beautiful way that Our Lady of Guadalupe is just one of the Black Madonnas that has appeared in the Americas, and one that is most prominent in most of our understandings here in North and South America. So one of the other Black Madonnas that you may have heard of before, maybe not, there's the Black Madonna of like the workers' movement in Czechoslovakia, Our Lady of Chostakovich. And there's this amazing way that this painting, which actually has been brought to the United States as well, this painting has like a slash in this side. It's like a slash on this side. of the Madonna's face. She's holding her child, and there's a way that, like, the Black Madonna has herself bearing the scars of the world, the scars of the evil ways that we can oppress and treat one another. And she appears, and there's like this beautiful pilgrimage that happens all the time to Our Lady of Czestochowa. And like, she is such a presence of strength and of celebration. One of the things I've learned along the way about the Black Madonnas and is that the Black Madonnas, I've heard people say like, well, they're black because they speak to people who have different colored skin. And perhaps that's the case. But the energy of the Black Madonna is about the mother that can bear the sufferings of the world. This is why the Black Madonna appears in these places where horrific suffering is taking place, where people are being oppressed, where they're being like, their lives are being ripped apart, where a horrible violence has taken place. And Our Lady is appearing, and she is guiding the way. She is holding the suffering of the people. She's like taking them up into her breast, holding their pain and suffering, allowing that to be like changed, and allowing their suffering to be transformed in like the passion of her own heart. And so her own body glows with like the remains of that and the remains of the suffering. This is showing like this deep connection with the earth. The fertile soil of Mother Earth is this beautiful image of the Black Madonna. It connects us deeply with who we all are, that primal need we all have for the earth to be our mother, to provide what we need in order to survive. The earth puts forth the fruits that are literally sustaining to our body. And this is the way, that's like the energy of the Black Madonna, that is like this life-bearing, life-giving, life-nourishing energy that reminds us of the soil, the fertile soil of the earth. There are so many Black Madonnas that have appeared. In fact, there are those who are writing about these appearances of the Black Madonnas. I think I heard that like since like the last 500 years, there's just been this like phenomena of Black Madonnas appearing and having these apparitions all over the world, and especially in these places of great suffering. And I never really realized that I actually owned a Black Madonna before I really knew that I even had a Black Madonna. That's a little bit weird to say, but before I even knew anything about the Madonna or the Black Madonna, I was on a trip to South Africa. I have dear friends, and now I have many friends in South Africa now. That not all of them are in South Africa anymore. Some have moved to other parts of the world. But a dear friend that I was spending time with through my seminary experience. It was my summer, but I was there in their winter. And I still remember like seeing these gorgeous rock carvings of this very dark stone. And if you're watching the video cast, you see this behind me, this like way that this mother and child is just so united. And so I purchased that beautiful stone. We were out one day. I think it was when we were on our way to the Cape, and in like the southernmost tip of Africa. And I purchased this and brought it back home, and it's been in my bedroom on a bookshelf for all these years. And then I started learning about the Black Madonnas, and then I like went and saw what I thought was my first Black Madonna in the Abbey of Saint Victor in Marseille, France, and was able to experience more of the Black Madonna when I went back to southern France and went to St. Mary's de la Mer, where this beautiful Black Madonna of Saint Sarah is, and just the energy of that statue in this place where people have made their prayers forever. She's known as the queen of the outsiders, Saint Sarah is, and her feast day is coming up in May, actually, and there will be those from all over Europe will come and like reenact this, taking her statue out of the sea and bringing her back and parading her around the streets, because there's so many who have experienced these like miracles in their lives when they have come and prayed to the Black Madonna, when they have prayed to Saint Sarah, and then experienced the healing that they were looking for. I know these sound like some really far out there stories if you're a person that's like heavy all about intellect and in like steeped in the Western world of information and empirical evidence. And yet there are people all around the world who have hearts open wide, who are seeking healing in any way they can get it. And in certain places in the world, they might not have access to Western medicine like we do, or they may, and they may know that that's not the end of the game, that there's this whole other way that the spiritual beings beyond us also can be those of healing for us. And so there, Saint Sarah has been like recorded as being an energy that has put forth many miracles for many healings that people have sought. So in my experience, I actually recently was looking at my bookshelf and realizing I've actually owned this Black Madonna. I have had this statue of this Black Madonna, this mother and child that I was drawn to when I was in South Africa, having no idea what it was. And the cool thing about it was I was in South Africa with my friends who actually had been a part of the struggle to be freed from apartheid. And so their own like teenage high school years were like marching for freedom because of the color of their skin. They were working against this government that said, if you don't have white skin, you're not good enough. And they were marching for freedom as people who were like, no, wait a minute. We are loved by God as well, and we deserve rights and freedoms too. It doesn't matter what color our skin is. And so that was the land in which I actually acquired this first Black Madonna that is crude as she may be. If you're watching the video cast, I can show you a little bit more of her. It's just this beautiful way. And I had this sense that like, she's just like, I don't know, it reminds me of this like way that they're just interconnected, this mother and child. And it's almost like they're playing together. And there's like, even if you notice the way this, if you're watching this Black Madonna, it's like the faces are facing one another and that mother gaze is continuing. And then there's a sense that like it's eternal because it's secular. It goes around and around and around again. And so this beautiful, crude, small as she may be, there's not a lot of features. She's just carved in some very dark, probably ebony stone. And yeah, there's a Black Madonna right there in my bedroom all the time. So wherever you are in your relationship with your biological mother or the mother that, whoever the mother that was that raised you, wherever you are, maybe it was your grandmother that actually raised you, or maybe it was somebody who took you in as a foster child or adopted you into their family. And so wherever you are with the energy of your mother, your biological, or the mother of your life, this is a great day to celebrate this primal, like instinctual, deep, prehistoric connection that is universal, the great mother, and the Madonna, the mother and child, that is every one of us. So I'm going to invite us to get quiet for a little bit for this pause for peace. This is a little chance for us to reflect upon the Madonna. You've heard a lot here, of course, in my podcast again today, sharing about Mother Mary, sharing about the Black Madonnas, maybe even being triggered a little bit by your own relationship with motherhood. Perhaps you're somebody who has really wanted to give birth yourself and that's never come to pass, and this is a day that might break your heart. Perhaps you're a mother who has lost a child along the way, whether that be to death or whether that be a child that was stolen from you, or a child that ran away from you, or a child that was lost maybe through something like addiction. They're still physically alive, and yet the connection between you is broken because of something as horrible as addiction. This day has so much energy and so much emotion for so many of us. Many of us are those whose mothers have passed, and we miss them terribly, and we remember every last moment we had with them. And that might be moments that were sweet, 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 or those might be moments that were horrible, and you still feel guilty about the final moments that you had with your mother. Let's just put all that out around us so that we can have some clarity within. It's almost like just let that all out, let it go. I'm going to ask us to start breathing and getting ourselves grounded right where we are, with our feet flat on the earth. And as our feet are flat on the earth, the earth actually holds the remains of all of our ancestors, all of those who have passed before. Their physical bodies return to the earth. And so there are those who, when we connect through the earth, actually invite the energies of the ancestors to lift us up, to hold us up. And so we can invite the energy of the greatest mothers that have been to come and buoy us up for these moments. The mothers that have truly honored the calling of mothering, who have truly poured out celebratory love upon their child, accepting them for who they are, being their greatest champion, gazing upon their face with great delight. Those are the mothers, the energy of the ancestral mothers we want to call forth today, to hold us on this day amid all of the emotions so many of us have. And we might even call upon Mary, the great mother, Jesus' mother. It's a shame that the canonical Gospels don't tell us clearly more about her and her role, her life with Jesus, even after he became this public teacher and preacher and healer. We can only surmise what his mother passed on to him. We know that healing, in Jesus' day, healing was the work of the mothers. It was the mother's job, still often the mother's job, to tend the wounds of the family. Like a child falls down, bumps their knee, and they cry for their mama. They want mama to give them a Band-Aid. They want mama to pick them up. Mamas knew in Jesus' day how to take care of the wounds and the bodies and the souls of their families. So we can only imagine the way Mary, the great mother, child that she might have been when she first said yes to this crazy plan to bear God's son into the world, is the way the language is, to bear the child, the divine child, into the world. It was her job to raise up that child to understand that he is of God and he is of the earth. It's the job of every mother to raise us up to understand that we are beautiful human beings and we are infused with the Spirit of God. It's still the mother's job. It's our Father's job too, but we're celebrating Mother's Day today. So let that energy of the great mother, the Mother Mary, be like a firm foundation under you. And let the Black Madonnas that have come in all these places of suffering all around the world. But the energy of those Black Madonnas also, like maybe you want to feel them at your back. Maybe you feel them in your heart space, which too can carry the pains of the world and carry your own pains, like the things that you're struggling with. Maybe Our Lady of Guadalupe could actually be the Black Madonna that holds you, that you turn to when your heart is breaking. Maybe when you're marching for justice, you want to turn to Our Lady of Shostakovich, that you want that much power and fervor to seek your rights to come through her, so that nothing will deter you. Or maybe there's just a primitive, crude-looking Black Madonna that you've picked up somewhere, maybe somewhere like South Africa, where you know there are mothers whose hearts were breaking for so many years because of the way their children were being mistreated, because of the color of their skin, because of the language with which they spoke. And they danced and they cried and they sang for freedom, and they have continued to tend the wounds of their children's body, and their grandmothers tending the wounds of their grandchildren's body because of the AIDS epidemic that continues in places like Soweto in southern Africa. Places where people have been forced to live, where they don't have access to what they need. So the energy of those mothers come, and they sing and they dance for our freedom, that every child will have what's needed. We just want to gather up all that beautiful energy of the mothers today, so that wherever we are in this emotional place with motherhood and our mother, we can celebrate the mothers of all time, of every place, who continue to birth life into this world, who continue to nurture and preserve life, to provide for life, to teach us to actually live. So let's turn inward into the space of our heart now, because we are grounded and surrounded by all this beautiful energy of the mothers. Our own mother, our grandmother, our great-grandmothers. They're here, available to all of us, all throughout our days. Turning inward, let's take a few deep breaths. And become aware of what we're experiencing in our heart, right there at the center of our chest. What's going on in the energy of our heart today? The energy of the heart is the energy of self-love. The energy of the heart is the energy of innate harmony. It's the energy of unconditional love and acceptance of self. It is the energy of forgiveness. First of self, then of others. The energy of the heart is what we need to awaken each day, so that we can live grounded as those who love ourselves and seek to love as Jesus taught us to love every other being. So noticing what's taking place in the energy of your heart right now. I encourage us to invite that energy of self-love to awaken, that energy of innate harmony, which means we're in balance, just inwardly in balance with who we are, with how things are. We're at peace. It doesn't mean that we don't want or look for things that we would like to have changed in our lives, but it does mean that we have harmony inwardly always in this very moment, even as we seek to become all that our heart desires for us to become. And awaken that energy of self-acceptance. As we become our own mothers, we learn that every part of ourselves, it's all here to serve us. It all has to come into balance. It all has to be danced with. We have to understand that every part is here to serve us. It might be a part of ourselves that's dramatically out of balance, taking over and throwing their little 3-year-old temper tantrum. But if you can imagine that all parts of yourself, those parts of yourself that you banish, that you make shadow, that only get bigger and that only drive you more than you really would like or want to realize. But all of those, as we grow into being our own mother, all of those get welcomed at the table. They all have a purpose. Maybe the purpose is just for them to remind us that sometimes we want to stop and play. Maybe that's what one of those energies is telling us. So we awaken this energy of self-acceptance, full self-acceptance. Before we depart the time of stillness, I'm reminded at Mother's Day especially, Father's Day too, but at Mother's Day this year, I'm reminded of the beautiful wisdom of Louise Hay, who, in just this glorious, radiant wisdom that she had coming forth from her well into her 90s, that Louise Hay would remind us that the journey for us is that we grow to a place where we can be so accepting of self and so accepting of others that we can actually say a prayer of release and thanksgiving to our parents, to our mother, because they were doing the best they could with who they were at their place in the journey. And there's a way that we can seek peace around our parentage, around what we may or may not have received. There is a way that we can be gracious and forgiving to our parents as we remember them and as we're still trying to work through our issues with them, maybe in therapy all the time for that. Louise Hay's beautiful wisdom is let your parents off the hook so that you can be somebody who grows to being this mature adult, this mature mother who can finally take care of him or herself, because that's the journey. So before we depart this Mother's Day, pause for peace. Let's spend a little time, hopefully with this awakened heart, this place of unconditional love and forgiveness, that you can bless the work of your parents. That you can give thanks for every way they cared for you and every way they didn't, which might be really difficult for some of us, because some of us have experienced parents who have been really, really, really horrible to us and left quite a bit of damage and trauma for us to seek to live with. And yet, Louise Hay would say we've got to release that. Jesus would say we have to release that, because that will still continue to define us. And so if we can take a moment to bless even the way parents were parents to us that was not well. Bless them. Don't bless their actions. Bless them. Release them and let them go, so that you can move on in your journey of healing, so that you can become the one that nurtures and celebrates and cares for yourself, takes great delight in yourself, and in that way can be empowered each day, and therefore able to say, thanks, Mom and Dad, I got this now. The pains you passed on to me, I have this now. I am working through the trauma of those things so that I can become who God needs me to be in this world. So if that's your journey, I invite you to be about making that peace. Be about that reconciliation right now, which doesn't mean you need to become like enmeshed back with them. It just means being in a place of releasing, letting go, so you can move on with your life. And one more bit of gratitude. Let us all give gratitude for the mothering we have received in the many and varied ways it might be coming into our lives even now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Like, so much appreciation. Even if we've had like the best parents in the world, we still can learn from the example of other people who have mothered us along the way. So let's take another deep breath and release it. I pray you still can feel surrounding you that positive energy of the best of motherhood, the best of mothering, all throughout the eons, that you'll be able to be bathed in all of that all throughout the rest of this day. So be it. We can return to one another. We can open our eyes if they've been closed. Maybe you want to pound on your chest a little bit, get yourself planted back deep in the earth, and hope to have a beautiful rest of this week, because you are becoming your own mother. Maybe even the mother you never had and always needed and wanted. Or maybe you're emulating an amazing mother that you had, but you need to grow up and be that amazing mother to yourself now. So wherever you are on the journey, I hope you have a blessed week. Remember, it's still Eastertide, so keep on celebrating the gift of new life. This is the way, one way we rise, when we become these beautiful new creations that know how best to mother ourselves. Blessings. See you next time.